Thanks for joining us. I'm David Lee Simmons, entertainment reporter for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. New Orleans audiences will be faced with a lot of fun ways to celebrate this holiday season, and that's no more apparent than in the various productions of Charles Dickens's classic story of redemption, A Christmas Carol, being mounted on local stages starting this week. There are also very distinctly different versions of the story, and with us to talk about those versions are three veteran New Orleans actors who will take on the role of Ebenezer Scrooge, the three Scrooges, if you will. So, starting with John Spud McConnell, who plays Scrooge in Southern Rep's version of the Doris Baisley adaptation of A Christmas Carol. We also have Harold X. Evans playing a more contemporary Scrooge at Anthony Bean Community Theater. And finally, we have Joel Rainey, who will be taking on Scrooge in the Alan Menken musical version at Rivertown Theaters for the Performing Arts. So, gentlemen, thanks for taking the time to talk about this very classic story. I'd like to start with one kind of basic question for all three of you, and that's starting with Spud, who's been there before, but once before as Scrooge. What do you try to bring to this role that makes this particular Scrooge such a compelling figure for the audience? What sets this particular version of Scrooge apart from others?
Well, this is a play within a play. It's a company that comes on to put on A Christmas Carol. And throughout the introduction of people, you learn that Tiny Tim has been fired and Scrooge has quit. So they take the prop boy and make him Tiny Tim, and they take the crabby stage manager and turn him into Scrooge. And it's not only Scrooge's redemption, it's the stage manager's redemption. So it's basically you get two for the price of one.
Harold, as a first-timer performing in A Christmas Carol at all, what is it about? This is a contemporary version of A Christmas Carol at Anthony Bean Community Theater. What makes this a distinct performance for you, a distinct role for you compared to other Christmas Carol versions that you've seen?
Working with a bunch of kids. The difference in this production is that the director, Anthony Bean, decided to put children in some of the adult roles. So we have little kids, we have teenagers, and we have a few veterans who are expected to carry the show.
And as the therapist likes to say, how does that make you feel?
Oh, warm and fuzzy.
Never play with kids and dogs.
There you go.
That's right.
Joel, you have maybe as much experience as Spud does with A Christmas Carol. You've played Bob Cratchit, you've played Fred, you've directed it, but this is your first time performing as Ebenezer Scrooge in the Alan Menken musical version of it. What to you is the most compelling facet of this particular Scrooge?
Well, really just that it is the Alan Menken version. This was done, he wrote it 2 years after he did Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. And it's the same version that was done in Madison Square Garden for 10 years. So everything is at scale, like everything at Rivertown, everything is large where it comes to the sets, the costumes, the smoke, there's tap dancing. Scrooge is tap dancing, you know, he's throwing all around the place, and it's a joy, and it's a great experience for me as an actor, but also it's a great thing for the whole family, because there's a little bit for everyone, and the music is just very stirring, and it's just a wonderful
Good adaptation.
Yeah.
There's a term in theater, I think it's called the discovery process, and I had a chance to watch all of you in rehearsals over the past week. How do you get to Scrooge over the course of the production time? You're familiar with it, but when do you start to feel like you've really gotten the character down as you're rehearsing?
Oh God, it's always fun to play the crab. Mm-hmm. It's fun to play the because you can almost never go over the top. You're angry at everybody. You're angry at the world. You're angry at yourself. You're angry at everything that interferes with what you're trying to do, and you don't even know why you're angry half the time. So it's easy to play that aspect of it. The trick of it is to figure out how they've chipped away at that anger throughout the course of the play, and especially with our adaptation, which is a play within the play. Every now and again, you step back into the show, the overall production, as opposed to the play.
Mm-hmm. Harold, how do you feel as a real first-timer to the story and to Scrooge? How do you feel over the course of the rehearsals you're getting into Scrooge mode, so to speak?
Well, like Spud and
Joel.
Implied.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to play crabby guy. This is a good opportunity, although in this script, I find Scrooge's evolution comes very quickly. It's intense and mean in the first couple of scenes, but he starts to soften pretty quickly. So a challenge there is to go from that tough, hard nails miser to a liberal guy and a likable guy. So working on that and working with the children, that's been a challenge too, because I feel very self-conscious being mean to these kids because they look so angelic, but believe me, they're not.
Joel, I saw you working with kids last night,
Yeah.
not quite that young, based on what I saw.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about how you come to find Scrooge, especially in a story where you're spending a lot of the time reacting and absorbing what's going on. It's hard to be just present in the moment and not really doing much but being affected by
Yeah.
the events unfolding
Well,
in
you know,
flashback.
Spud put it right down, right in the head there. It's about stripping everything away. In the very beginning, there are all these walls and all this, bitter about this and that and that. And as time goes on, I mean, it's a dream for an actor because you just pull these things off and you become more vulnerable and all you're doing is listening.
Well, there you have it. 3 very distinct New Orleans actors playing 3 very distinctly different Ebenezer Scrooges. We'd like to thank John McConnell, Harold Evans, and Joel Rainey. To find out more about these 3 productions, please visit NOLA.com/events and check out the information. It all starts this weekend. So for NOLA.com, this is David Lee Simmons, and happy holidays.